I helped a stranger one cold night. At the time, it felt like a small thing, something anyone could have done. I never imagined it would follow me long after that night ended. It was late, almost midnight, the kind of hour when the city feels empty, even though it never truly sleeps. Street lights flickered softly, and the air carried that quiet heaviness that only comes after a long day. I was walking home alone, replaying ordinary thoughts in my head, work, bills, things that didn't really matter. That's when I saw her. She was standing under a broken streetlight, not walking, not sitting, just standing there, completely still. At first, I thought she was waiting for someone, but as I got closer, I noticed something was wrong. She kept looking around like she was lost, like she didn't know where she was supposed to be. She was holding a small bag tightly against her chest. Her shoulders were tense, her hands were shaking. I slowed down. Then I stopped. Helping strangers isn't always safe. We all know that. We're taught to mind our own business, to keep walking, to avoid situations that feel uncertain. For a moment, I almost did exactly that. But something about her made it impossible to walk away. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes, or the way she kept pressing the power button on her phone, even though the screen stayed dark. I asked her if she was okay. She looked up suddenly, startled, like she hadn't realized anyone else was there. For a second, she didn't speak. Then she said her phone had died. She had no money, and no one was answering her calls. She didn't ask for a ride. She didn't ask for much at all, just help getting to the nearest bus stop. I hesitated. That pause lasted only a few seconds, but it felt longer, long enough for every warning I'd ever heard to run through my head, long enough for doubt to creep in. Then I nodded. I told her I'd walk with her. We started down the street together, side by side, not quite looking at each other. The pavement was wet, reflecting the glow of the city lights. Our footsteps echoed softly in the empty street. For a while, neither of us spoke. There was something heavy in the silence, not uncomfortable, just meaningful, like the night itself was listening. She eventually told me her name, only her name, nothing about where she was coming from or where she was going. Then, without any warning, she said something I still remember clearly. Some people help without knowing why. Her words caught me off guard. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. I just kept walking. When we reached the bus stop, the street felt even quieter. The sign buzzed faintly. A bus appeared in the distance sooner than I expected. As it pulled up, she stepped forward. Then she stopped and turned back toward me. She smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was tired, grateful, almost sad. "Thank you," she said softly. "You'll understand one day." The doors closed, the bus pulled away, and just like that, she was gone. I stood there for a moment, staring down the empty road, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Then I shrugged it off and went home. Life moved on. Days passed. That night faded into the background of my memory, just another moment I thought I'd forget. 3 days later, everything changed. I heard a knock at my door. When I opened it, no one was there, only a small package sitting on the ground. It didn't have a return address, no name, no explanation, just a note taped to the top. It read, "You helped me when no one else did." My heart started beating faster as I picked it up. I don't know why, but my hands were shaking. Inside the package wasn't money. It wasn't anything valuable. It was a photograph. A photograph of my father. It was old, worn at the edges, taken years ago on a day I thought had been forgotten forever. My father passed away a long time ago. That photo was supposed to be lost. I stood there staring at it, trying to understand how this was even possible, how a stranger could have something so personal. To this day, I don't know who she really was, or how she found that photo, or why she chose to return it to me. I never saw her again. But every time I think about that night, I remember this. Kindness doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always come back the way you expect. Sometimes it returns quietly, in ways that stay with you forever.